I met somebody who used to be there.
Oh, no, that was a rumor.
You all set there with the tape?
Yes, we're ready.
Okay, September 19th, planning board meeting is now open. And just for those people that are watching at home, please don't go to that refrigerator, because this will be a quick and early meeting. Just to let you know. First thing on the agenda, George's Estates bond reduction. Please step up, state your name.
Joe Arruda, Raynham Channel.
Can Wayne see our plan that was previously submitted for a landscape? You were at our last meeting asking for, really, to show us.
A few waivers, if you want me to go with it.
Yeah, why don't you, do you have the list with you?
I don't, but I
You
kind
do?
of memorized
You got the,
Okay. Thank you. The waiver we had requested, this side of the road is natural forest, so we had requested just to plant the street trees on one side. And then we also requested in the detention basin, which I had talked to Roger. Unfortunately, me and him couldn't get together to meet out there, so I'll take it. His concern, this was a chain link fence, and it's in the middle of the woods. This is a future house that we're not building. This is a lot 11. This here is wooded. His concern was somebody could drive through here. There's going to be a gate here to get to the detention basin. So I come up with an alternative of some boulders. He was afraid the four-wheelers would go down there.
Through some beautiful yard on some $600,000 home.
Well, that's what his concern was. So I asked, we had discussed not putting the chain link fence in the middle of the woods for looks.
now you
and
just
trash.
mentioned that house, you'll be building a house in the future. What do you mean? Is
Well,
that
we're
something
not
you're
selling this lot. This is we're keeping that one parcel for now.
So that's probably
we
why,
sold off
that's
to-
probably his concern. If that stays as a big parcel, then
Yeah, so
perhaps if it's
we'd
not
like
gonna
to,
be, it's not gonna be a house.
it's all
They
woods here. So we would like to be able to place some boulders along where his concern of someone possibly getting in there, because the rest is an embankment.
And at the last meeting, you did say that that's a dry.
It's a dry basin, yes. Yep. I mean, it's a sand, it's a small area. His concern, and he said every circumstances could be looked at. He has a detention basin that they're taking the four-wheelers and they're jumping out of it. So I think this would rectify that concern.
Is that the only spot that
That was chain link, yeah.
that was changed
It was
on the
just
original plan?
This was just a small area.
Okay.
They'll probably just go around it.
And then this was rhododendrons in the back here, on the back side in the woods. We asked that the 35 rhododendrons, they're never gonna, I will plant them, but they're not gonna last the night with the amount of deer that are out there. So we just asked that that be addressed, that the rhododendrons be taken off, and then, their consideration on the board's consideration on the amount that they had set on the cleanup of the road, be at your discretion of what you guys think we should hold, and then everything else I was fine with.
Is there
Do we have the estimate from last time? I have it in my briefcase if you don't.
Gentlemen? Charles? Yeah, good.
You don't have the concrete bounds in yet?
No. Nope.
For roadway maintenance and cleanup, we're carrying $18,466.65 plus 30% contingency on top of that. And then for trees, we're carrying $25,935 for trees. And how many trees are you asking to?
Well, just the side, it would be half,
That was the
because
last meeting.
they had trees on both sides of the road.
It's not good.
Okay. And how about around the detention area?
I'm gonna keep the detention.
No, the trees.
Oh, the road, I'm sorry, the rhododendrons.
Rhododendrons you had, how
It was
many?
35 rhododendrons. I want to say, if I recall, it was like $5,000 in rhododendrons. It did put that on that.
Okay, so the trees, I took a ride over there, and I agree, you don't really need trees going in on the left-hand side because it's already natural woods, you know, driving, I mean, the whole entire thing is all large trees now.
So how much are the trees
But how
on that
many,
side?
yeah, what's that?
How much is the trees on that side?
Well, I don't know, that's what I'm trying to find out, how many trees are we?
I was, the count by what we had and what they had showed, it was almost half. I was doing 4
Well, he's got
trees
six-
per,
On this sheet, we have 65 trees.
right. And the bylaw had stated 4 trees per lot. So I have 11 lots, is 44 trees.
So inside of that 65 trees, is the 35 rhododendrons included in that 65?
Nope, that's a different line item.
Okay. All right, so we have, Russ, we got 2 things. He's asking for a modification to his existing subdivision, reducing the amount of trees to basically in half. for the
Well,
road-
I don't
for the
think it's
road
quite, I'm
trees.
sorry, I think I said half, but it's 44.
Well, what we'll call it is on the left-hand side, we're gonna be eliminating trees on the left-hand side. John, can you,
44 trees on the left-hand side, is that what he's saying?
no.
On the right-hand side.
Oh, you're still putting in 40.
Saying 44 was.
Putting
what
in
was required
44.
by the bylaw.
For both sides?
You're still gonna need some at the end of the left,
Right.
where the houses are.
If,
Yes, that's, the 11 lots would be 44 trees.
It's about 5.5 lots, so about 22 trees.
okay,
He's reducing it by.
all right, so
How much is 22
third.
trees then?
so he's reducing it by 22
From
trees.
65, so he's reducing it to 44. Yeah.
You're going down to 44,
Yeah,
44.
so you're taking out 21.
yeah, 21. So he's reducing it by about a third.
How much is line item?
$25,935.
So will we reduce that by a third, is that what we would?
Third.
Plus the 30%, right?
Well, plus,
Plus 30.
yeah, he's got 30% on the bottom,
And
so,
then the 30% after the fact, yeah.
Yeah.
yeah,
Reduce
so,
it. So if you, 26,000 minus the third is about $8,000.
Yeah,
So you're
so
reducing it to about
8,000.
$18,000.
Yep, that sounds good to me.
17.
Yeah.
17 or 18 plus the 30% back on. I don't understand the second one, could you explain that to me?
the
Well,
other
what-
set
what-
of trees?
No, no,
The rhododendrons.
oh, I thought we were going on to the wire fence.
No, we're still in the trees.
Okay, I'm sorry.
We have, the only thing with the 35 rhododendrons, I don't believe that, unless that item is in
Detention basin.
detention basin area, in,
What's in detention, how much money's in that line item?
there's,
I thought it was broken off, it's like $5,000 in rhododendrons.
I brought the wrong glasses, I can't read that fine print. It's not happening.
oh, there it is.
Okay, I thought I saw. If It was like
35 rhododendrons at $5,250.
So that would be totally doing.
All right, so we have a request to eliminate the rhododendrons along the detention area. There's 35 rhododendrons, a total amount of $5,250. That's one of the minor modifications. The second one is the reducing the 65 trees. We're holding $25,935, and we will bring that down to $18,000, and the 30% can come off of that. So I guess the motion's made for the minor modification.
Was the fence in there too? Is there money, line item for
the
fence?
fence.
We're doing trees first.
Oh,
Yep.
okay.
Let me do the trees first.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we reduce the bond amount by, what's that, 23,200?
18, and 5250.
Yeah,
We've been reducing it by about a little, 5,250 plus the 8,000, we're bringing it down.
Yeah.
So about 13,525, is it?
13,250 would be reducing it by, and then include the 30% contingency as well.
Plus
And-
30%.
Well, you do the 30% on the total.
Yeah, the total,
anyway, so-
either way.
Okay? So the motion was made, seconded? Discussion for, this is just for the trees. All in favor? Aye. The second one is going to be for minor modification to eliminate, how many feet, John? Can you see,
Let's see, we're talking, this 1 inch equals 60. Looks to be probably 130 to 150 feet total.
I think they broke it out on that estimate, but I'm not sure if they gave the linear feet footage.
We probably did.
It's looking to be about 2.5 inches.
yeah, I'm not sure if you can't see. Okay.
He's standing in front of the map, and it blocks his camera.
4-foot-high chain link fence. This has 250 linear feet. Is there additional fence somewhere?
No, it's just that area.
Did it go down the property line too, or just that one?
It just went across the,
Just across the
Across the
front?
back.
Well,
What was the purpose of the fence?
keep
Supposedly to keep quads from going in through the
keep
detention
kids out of
basin.
it. It's not it doesn't, it's not gonna collect water. Usually, we'll require one to go around the entire piece. But this one was mainly to keep kids out from running the four-wheelers and stuff through it.
And so why does he want to eliminate that? Is that?
He wants to eliminate and put boulders there, because it's out in the.
Oh, okay, I guess my question is, maybe to John, is boulders a sufficient substitute for fence to
Well,
keep
ideally,
kids out on MTVs?
The idea of a chain link fence around a detention basin is to keep kids out of it
Mhm.
and small animals and things of that nature. That's usually the idea of a chain link fence. Obviously, boulders wouldn't be able to keep children from going in there. Might be able to keep the ATVs and things like that, but it's not.
The only problem is, this doesn't have a fence around the entire piece, though.
Right.
It only has,
Drive around the fence.
it only has a fence in the front, so
Right.
if we replace fence with boulders, boulders will never deteriorate, they're never gonna rot. The kids aren't gonna
How deep
move
is that,
them.
3 feet?
it's like 3.5
Yeah, usually
feet.
3-4
Looking
feet.
at the contours, it doesn't look like it's any deeper than this table.
Oh, it's not,
Is
there's
there
no
any-
water.
Is this a detention or retention?
It's a detention area.
So is there any
Sand
water
bottom.
accumulating?
No.
They-
Usually there
Empty
won't
strike.
be, there'll be little or no standing water.
This is really the only access point to it, so I think that's why it was originally having a fence there to keep people from accessing the subdivision road and then going into, because there is a dirt road, is it gonna be gravel, I assume?
Yeah,
Just for maintenance, so the highway department can get in there and maintain
which we
it.
have to put a gate up on that, so. no.
Right, that section's gonna have to have a gate. Now, for, is there, what's the particular reason. $5,000 isn't really the reason, so it's not money
For me, it
related.
was not the money part of it, it was the looks part of it and the functionality of it. It's another thing that we have to maintain for the town, and it's in the middle of the woods where I'm not cutting the trees out there, behind that lot, so a tree falls and hits a rock, it's no big deal. If it falls and wipes out the fence, it's just a maintenance issue, and looks. You know, I thought a chain link fence through the middle of the woods wouldn't look as good as, you know, a nice.
Yeah, I mean, I don't
staggered-
see where it's located, and as long as we're not gonna be able to eliminate the $5,200 only because we are gonna have to see boulders.
I have no problem with that.
Plus, you're gonna have to put, you know, a gate up wide enough for them to get tractor in there
Yeah,
to
which-
maintain it, and I almost think, instead of us almost taking a vote to change it, I think we do this on the final plan when it comes in front of us as a
Okay.
modification at that time, so.
I think we should tell them that's okay and tell them what size boulders and how high the
Oh, we
boulders
can,
have to be stacked.
exactly, but I don't feel taking a vote on
How
it,
closely you'd like to see them.
taking a vote on it at this point, because it's kind of vague on what we're actually gonna swap over to.
Should I talk that also over with Roger, make sure that Roger's,
I-
I try to get Roger out there before this meeting. My schedule and his schedule just didn't.
Yeah, no, that's fine, and again, I'm sure it's not the $5,200.
No, it's not.
So,
It was the
discuss it with
looks.
Roger, we'll table that when you come in for,
And what is the normal height and width
4
of the
feet.
boulders?
oh, for a boulder?
Yeah,
Usually like 2.5.
Yeah, they can be
Yeah.
2,
3 feet
3 feet,
tall,
depending
and
on how.
so that should be in your minor modification.
Yeah, I mean,
Like
once
boulders.
Roger approves it, and then you
Okay.
see.
So we'll table that one, and talk to Roger, and then you can
Perfect.
come back and we'll talk about the change of the fence, but I think it's consensus of the board, we don't have issues with it.
You know, you just need them far enough apart to get a lawnmower through, but not far enough so get a quad through.
Yeah, and he's gonna have a gate for the lawnmower anyway.
Yeah.
So, okay, so we're gonna table that one. We voted on that one, and then we have, road maintenance and cleanup, $18,466 plus 30% contingency. He's asking for that to be reduced. Excuse me?
What are we talking about?
Yeah, we still have, we have the rhododendrons also.
No, we included that, right?
I thought that was included in the vote with
The
the trees.
5250.
Yeah, because we.
Yeah.
we-
Oh, 13,250,
Yeah.
rhododendrons were done, you voted on already.
Can we eliminate them?
We did, but we gave him back the money on that was in the 13,250. On the road maintenance, again, I took a ride out there, the place is spotless, to hold $20,000 on road maintenance,
Is the final coat done?
no. The only thing all they're basically gonna be doing is cleaning detention areas, usually Roger requires that to be cleaned and catch basins to be, cleaned out, so.
What's a good figure to reduce it to? 5,000?
$7,500, I think is, looking at what is out there and how nice, I mean, the subdivision's been there for how many years?
Almost 7.
And to
6,
see the
7.
condition that it's in 7 years, I think, I don't think,
So 7,500, you said it's okay?
that's what I would recommend, that we
I'll make a
reduce it.
motion, we reduce to 7,500.
Okay, second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. I lost the other half of my glasses.
Oh, is that why they keep falling out?
Yeah, I only have one side.
Yeah, we do have eyeglass stores in town.
Yeah, well, it happened when I came in here, so, unless I ripped yours off your head, I don't think I'm gonna get up here.
I don't think yours are gonna fit me anyways.
Okay, so I think that's it for your modifications,
Thank you, guys.
all right? Very good, thank you.
And then I'll put up a cash bond. I have a tri-party agreement.
Yes,
So when I have the total, I'll bring in a cash check made out to the town,
in that reduced with the reduced amount,
and then that.
and what I would suggest you do is John will do the calculations tomorrow exactly,
And I can bring you in that,
and then
you
he'll
guys are
let you
all
know
set.
what it is.
Then we can release the
Tri-party agreement. Will that require another meeting to release that as long as me and him have the figure and I'll bring it?
No,
Okay.
because we're agreeing, whether it's a cash bond or,
Third-party agreement.
yeah,
Okay.
as long as we have, you're just
The money.
swapping it over.
Yep.
We've agreed on and voted on this reduction, that's the money part, that's the most important part.
Thank you.
So, all right,
Thank you very much.
all right, very good, have a good night.
Is lot 10 continued?
Huh?
Lot 10 continued?
Yeah, they didn't finish their stuff. Okay, Lot 10, Forge River Park, site plan, public hearing.
They asked to continue today,
Yes, and
October 30th.
we had them add October 3rd.
No, he asked me for the time
Oh.
back.
Oh, for the 30th? Oh.
Remember, we have to make sure we act within 30. So
Yeah,
when I
we
do
had him-
extensions, I always push them over.
We had him move it. So, Lot 10, Forge River Park, site plan, public hearing is going to be continued until October 3rd, same time, 6:15. All right, Marie?
Yes.
6:15? Okay, before I get into town planner update, I see we have a couple of gentlemen here. Are you looking to run for planning board, or you just want to keep an eye on it? Is there something we can do for you tonight?
I'd like to get some information, if I could.
Sure, step up, state your name for the record, and,
Name is Peter King, 85 Oak Street. I was late for the Memorial Committee meeting, so I got appointed to the landscaping subcommittee.
okay, very
Landscape
good.
out here. And we're kind of doing this a little different because I came in one morning and all the fence was gone. Stockade fence on this side here. I don't know. I know it's not there. What I was wondering is, we were going to plant some trees out here, and I didn't know whether there was a setback from the property line. We have to come back about 5 feet with the trees that we're going to put in abrevieties? Abrevieties, yeah. And they said that it should be about 5 feet apart, so that would make it 5 feet off of the
Back of the
property
memorial?
line.
Oh, the property line?
on this side.
Right.
I'm not sure exactly where it's going to go, but it's going to go behind the memorial. And originally, we had envisioned them coming down just inside the fence. But now that the fence is gone, like I said, I have to go back to the committee, but I was envisioning them just coming right down 5 feet inside. The fence was 2 feet inside our property line, and now these would have to come in an additional 3 feet in order to put the trees on because of the base. And I didn't know whether there was any setback requirements for vegetation on the property line.
No, as long as you're on your own property. If we're getting into putting up, were you putting up the abrevieties because of the fence, or are you putting up
No, it
abrevieties
was-
just because?
It was, just to make a nice backdrop behind the memorial.
Shouldn't they go a little closer to the memorial, so you're not really seeing all that? Are we gonna cut down all that grass in between?
That's coming out.
That's all gonna be cleaned and,
Up to, if you notice where the stump is, there's a big, long, tall tree right there. That's the limit of our work. We're going to take that hill down because it's mostly junk material, wood chips and stones and stuff like that. That's going to come out, it's going to be graded, loomed, graded, and seeded, so that's going to be all one big grassy field. My feeling is that
is there any additional, has there been any discussion on adding future memorials, or is that why you want to keep the shrubs further back?
That was my concern, is to, if you're going to plant these trees, now the ones that I've been looking at are between 8 and 10 feet. Once those start to grow, it's going to be very difficult to move them. So if they
Right.
decided to do anything behind the memorial, you don't want to have to dig up the trees and move them again. But like I said, I haven't talked to the final committee at that time about that, but I don't want to, cut off that space in case they decide to do another memorial, or just make a little mini park out there.
Right. You going to say something? Could you state your name for the record, please?
My name is James Banks, 78 Ellen Road, and I'm the committee chairman for the memorial. We have no plans for now, but just so into the future, if we needed any space, we'd have a nice field area in the, and have it all landscape, flattened, like Peter said, seeded, so that it looks good when you look at the memorial. You have, like you said, a backdrop of the trees, and then the small field with the,
Right.
With the lawn.
Now, have you, would you, I'm not sure the answer, would you need to go to conservation for any of the clearing?
I was at the Conservation Commission last night.
Oh, you did go to
And I got
conservation?
permission to take care of that right out there.
Okay,
And my limit is that one skinny tree. I
yeah,
can take that down, but that's the limit of the groundwork.
okay,
And
so,
that hill that's out there is junk material that was pushed up when they landscaped this. So they just pushed it up in a big pile. There is a lot of stones out there, a lot of wood chips from when they ground up everything that was out there. And it's just in a big pile.
okay. Yeah, it does look a little, I know when you drive in and you look over there, it does look a little unsettling behind it, and...
Just give it a finished look.
So I'm sorry, Henry, you're going to have it all grassed, and you're going to have the trees up, and so whoever's maintaining the town hall will maintain that grass area behind there?
Yes,
and
sir.
So people that, if they do come, they can always, you might even be able to set up a tent in the field.
There is a little table over here, and we'll most likely replace that because that one out there is getting pretty ratty. It's been here almost since we opened this building. And I think that they would replace that table. But like I said, I'm not sure what they want to do.
Okay.
But I don't want to do things twice.
Right, Henry, you had a question?
Yeah, these trees where you're putting them are not gonna create any further conflict with the abutter, I assume?
Well, there wasn't any conflict with the abutter. I don't know, like I said, I don't know why the fence was down.
Okay. So this is all on our property, right?
Yes.
Yeah, everything's up down there.
Good to see you, I haven't seen you in a while.
Yeah, how are you?
Good.
Okay, so Russ, any questions, comments? The only thing, I guess, we're not really gonna take a vote, but you have the consensus that I don't see, issue putting arborvitae's, I would just make sure that if you're buying big arborvitae's and the landscaper, whoever's gonna plant them, you find out if they're gonna be 8 feet, what's the potential for 25 years from now?
Well, that's why they.
Because usually,
they
nice
recommend 5
big
feet.
arborvitae's can grow, if there's a lot of sun around them and they're not being shaded by any trees, they can be very big and very nice looking. But just make sure that they're not encroaching on any property lines, so, we don't have shrubs half cut or something.
Right, the expert told me that, 5 feet would be sufficient.
Okay, so,
I guess that was my question.
yeah, just so
that
that,
you answered.
just so, because anything that grows over the property line can be cut.
Yeah, but we were coming 5 feet anyway,
Okay.
because that's what they told us.
So it's, you have the right to do that. This isn't just an open approval to go and start bulldozing everything over and,
No, I was just concerned if the planning board had any setback requirements.
No.
For a boundary line.
no, and like I say, as long as,
Other than what he said was make sure it doesn't go over.
Right.
That makes
Well, that's
it
why
a problem.
when we put the fence up originally, it was 2 feet inside our line so that we could go on the other side of it and maintain it.
okay. So,
That's it.
we don't have a problem with that.
Yeah.
Thank you
I'm
very much.
staying out of this anyway.
Okay, very good, thank you. right. Route 138, corridor study update.
I met with a few members of the Route 138 steering committee last Friday for a while, and talked to them, got some background information, talked about the recommendations in the planning study and the corridor study by Serpent. The goal is to start having regular meetings. I know the committee hasn't met in a while. Have to investigate I know who was on the committee, but from what I understand, a couple committee members may not be living in town anymore. So if there are a couple seats to be filled, we need to fill those. And my goal is to have regular meetings, to start meeting monthly, so we can get this moving forward. It seems like a lot of the legwork has already been done. There seems to be a consensus in the study that the steering committee wants to see with some type of overlay district. So that's been what I've been starting to do, is collect information on other towns that have done something similar, like what's mentioned in the report. And let's start moving forward. Let's start talking about the overlay district and the nuts and bolts of it, and with a goal of hopefully getting a bylaw to come forward in the spring of 2014.
Okay, now, Marilyn Wally was heading that committee up, and you spoke to Serpent?
Yeah, I spoke to Grant King, yeah.
Grant
Briefly,
King.
I'm going to speak to him more.
Well, I would suggest, and I agree, I think we should get this moving forward. We did spend a significant amount of time. I was on the committee, and don't have a problem staying on the committee until the end. But enough time has passed, and I told Grant that I didn't want to pursue it until we had a town planner.
Right.
Because I wasn't in the position to chair it or spend the time that it is going to take to see this through. So now that you're here, full speed ahead.
De facto chairperson.
Full speed ahead.
Okay, and that's my goal is, okay, it seems like a lot of the background work has been done. It seems like some consensus has been reached. So let's start moving forward with that consensus and get something done.
Very good. Anybody have any questions on the 138 update? Status of King Estates?
Yes, I spoke to Christopher Parrish, who is the, Maureen, he's not the developer, he's with the bonding company, correct?
Yes.
Okay. He's been having issues with getting the present landscaper out there to plant the trees. So I was in contact with Dan about this last week. He's going to go ahead and hire a new landscaper. And once that landscaper is hired, myself and Roger Stolte will go out there with the landscaper, and the three of us will pick locations for the 22 street trees, and then they'll go ahead and plant those. As far as the road acceptance, obviously the deadline for warrant articles is next Wednesday, so I don't think this is going to be something that's going to come forward at this town meeting for acceptance, potentially in the spring.
What I would suggest is that we do get the letter, and even though it might be in the spring, when you're dealing with outside, a bond company, let's pursue getting everything done. I'd rather have it sitting on the table.
The road
Wait,
acceptance procedure?
yes, I'd rather have it sitting on the table for 4 months than not sitting on the table, and because I know Roger wants to get this done, and I think the town, Raynham, should have it done. So I would pursue that like you are ready to go for the next town meeting, because as long as it's taken us to do anything with the bond company for King Estates has been, just,
At least get the
Too
process
long.
going, they can petition the Board
Right.
of Selectmen at any time.
and just so the rest of the members know, the reason why we only have 22 trees going on King Estates, because that is what the bond amount allowed, so you passing out donuts on down that end of the table or something?
Just checking my calendar.
Okay. Henry, we have 22 trees going to King Estates, because that's all the bond money would allow. So not everybody is getting trees in front of their property.
Best we can do.
It is what it is, and it's not, when they've been dragging their feet getting those trees planted, I suggested, I gave them 3 names. I wasn't picking anybody.
3 names of
To
landscapers?
landscapers in the area that are reputable, and let them pick who they want, and
The bond.
let the bond company pick. They're paying the bill, so.
Right.
I just figured that John and Roger, like he said, would go out there and just help assist this landscaper who's gonna be in no man's land.
Well, he is, you know,
'Cause I'm
now's
sure
the- we're
Chris
coming
from the
into
bond
perfect
company's
time
not-
to plan, so
Yeah.
get it done.
He's not gonna be there and tell them what to do, so.
Right, right.
So wherever they go, they go. For anybody that's home listening, you may not all get trees in front of your house.
Probably won't all get trees in front of us.
No, guaranteed they're not.
All right,
Okay.
can I skip to FEMA quickly, since
Yep,
that's
go right ahead.
That's a quick one. Myself and Kevin Marrera from the Conservation Commission attended a session on the 16th. FEMA is in the preliminary process of redoing their flood maps. So we attended a session at the Attleboro Public Library, and we have the draft maps that we brought back with us. Concom took a look, I don't know if they actually looked at them last night, but they were made aware that they're here. I checked with Randy and Joe Pacheco, and the way, they'd like to get, if there are any issues, if there are any outstanding things that anyone sees, anyone's welcome to come in and look at them. They'll either be in the planning department or down the hall in conservation.
Will they change them based on that?
What's that?
Will they change them based on that?
Based on what comments?
Yeah.
If you see something, they'll
Okay.
take a look at it. I don't know if they'll just,
I had someone come talk to me the other day, Gordon Francis was.
Well, if there's an
chairman of the
individual
conservation,
resident who questions.
And the line cuts right through his house when it never did.
Well,
They're arbitrary, a lot of the
that's-
elevations.
Yeah, they'd have to talk to FEMA about that and the
Yeah.
USGS. Basically, they'd like to get comments as soon as possible, preferably within the next few weeks. I asked Joe Pacheco and Randy if they wanted to combine comments, and they said, no, we're gonna leave it up to individual boards to submit their comments. So they'd like something in the next few weeks if possible. Unfortunately, if somebody has a question about their property and the flood zones, they have to deal with FEMA, because the town doesn't produce these maps. These are FEMA's maps in conjunction with USGS.
So if we had comments, then they wouldn't change it.
I don't know, that would be up to them. The
Okay.
town has no say over that.
Yeah, I did his engineering with the time when it happened, and he wasn't in floodplain, they just arbitrarily drew a
Yeah, I
line.
can't.
So it's almost, they're asking for our comments.
Yeah,
But not
I mean,
anything that changes.
Kevin took a look at them at the session, and he didn't see anything alarming. Everything, you're gonna have, you're gonna have some areas where it's actually been pulled back, and some people who were previously in the zone are not in the zone anymore, and you have some areas where people who weren't previously are maybe.
Now, what happens when, like, for this,
He's dealing with FEMA, but what happened is they use these maps that are 10-foot contours. They use USGS maps. So they'll calculate an elevation to the foot, but it's a 10-foot contour, so they go to the closest contour. So if you're 5 feet above flood, but you're not 10 feet, a lot of times they
I
cross
know,
the
but
contour.
my question was gonna be, what happens if, like in his case, that the
Insurance
house,
goes through the roof.
the house is going, the line's going through the middle of the house or the middle of the property?
That's a good question.
You know, what,
I don't know.
If your bank says you need a lot of
Yeah,
insurance.
your bank said, basically,
It's
each
outrageous.
individual, unfortunately, FEMA doesn't reimburse people. It's basically, the burden, unfortunately, the burden of proof ends up being on the individual homeowner.
So they
Well,
draw
I
a line
almost,
arbitrarily and cost
but I almost
$100
think
a year.
if it is, if we know for a fact that we have pieces of property in town that are not right, then I think that should be in our,
It could be, yeah.
as the planning
Yeah, we-
boards.
What
Planning
happened
board-
long ago when they did the maps
As
initially,
to town property?
as to,
No,
If
it
it's
had nothing to
obvious
do with
that a
town.
property isn't.
You know, it's just basically, we're looking at the FEMA map that they just changed, and we're being asked for our comments, and I.
they don't
and I-
overlay it though, like, they don't show it overlaid on actual properties.
So
They
how-
know, they have the ortho photos.
Oh, they do have it
Yeah,
now?
they do, they have it
Oh, okay.
overlaid on ortho
'Cause,
photos.
Do you
So
know what
if
I'm
you guys
saying?
catch it, no, and
So,
it's-
I mean, if
whatever
we-
comments you want me to forward, I'll forward.
if-
What
Yeah.
happened with a lot of these is you do what's called a, what was that, technical, it was technical 20 or something like that, like TR 20, just like technical release 20, just like TR 55 is for drainage basins. TR 20 is for flood analysis, when you do larger watersheds or calculate culverts. And so you do a TR 20 calculation when you'd have a river and you just figure the watershed and if it's gonna, inlet control or outlet control, and what the elevation on one end of the culvert is, what the flood elevation would be on another, and you can route storms through them. and that's how they determine these maps. The only problem is in Raynham, a lot of them, they didn't determine the elevation, they just said, we know it floods and it flood zones.
Well, if you,
Like they had Mary Lou's Court in floodplain, and where the cul-de-sac was a 50-foot hill, and they had that in flood, but, so they did it arbitrarily.
So if you
If they
catch
did the cal.
if you catch something like that, get me something in writing that I can forward to FEMA, and
What you'd
go from there.
want to do is ask them to actually do the calc and determine the flood elevation, because a lot of the rivers,
But they're
they
not
didn't
gonna
do that. They might.
They
Well,
might.
again, this is just, they're asking for our comment. If we don't
Okay.
put anything in,
But
Right.
then we.
But I
then-
can't, because, again, it's FEMA and USGS.
Basically, all you
They
can
may-
do is
they may
ask
tell-
them.
They may tell us to go pound sand.
On these areas, can you determine the flood
Right.
elevation?
Yeah.
Well, once you
But
see
why
the
don't we send
flood
them a letter
elevation,
to that effect?
because they call it flood elevation not determined, so you're arbitrarily in a zone.
So,
And all I'm saying is,
Elevation, right.
I would rather send something
Oh, yeah,
if we,
absolutely.
if we know in fact, and I have 2,000 feet on the river, so, and I haven't looked at it,
Mhm.
I can look at it just to see,
Right.
just with my own piece,
right, exactly.
you know.
So
and-
these will be either in our office or down in Concom. So please, within the next 2 weeks, come in and take a look at these so I can get comments in, because they said the further along this process goes, the tougher it is to make changes. So the sooner we
Right,
get
so-
comments in, the easier it is for them to make changes.
And then if anybody's, you know, if anybody is in that overlay district or overlay that line, they can always check with John at the town planning office, and I'm sure you can show them show them the maps.
Exactly. Now, obviously, I work for the planning board in the town, so I will forward comments from the planning board. Any individual comments from residents, they have to deal with FEMA individually.
Yep.
We can't get involved with that.
Exactly. But I'll go one step further and say, if any of us know for a fact
Correct.
that they are not accurate, then I would ask that the board give John permission to put a short little letter together stating that fact. So you have our blessing to do that. And medical marijuana bylaw.
We discussed this at the last meeting, and you gentlemen looked at a draft bylaw that I put together. And one of the things that came out of that was, you gentlemen had asked me to look at the industrial zoning district and do an exercise to show the potential of...
John, what I'm going to do, we have a laser pointer,
Oh, great.
and I know,
There we go.
and I apologize, you can sit and,
Oh, great.
right up here if you want, and point the laser, because Wayne will be superly happy to zoom right in on that picture.
This is the industrial zoning district up here in the northwest part of town in this light blue. And-
Just tell them what's there. Is that the dog track?
Excuse me?
Is that the dog track? you're
Yeah, that's the dog track property right there. And you can see that the eastern side of Route 138 is zoned business along the frontage of these properties. So this is the border of the industrial district right here. And what we discussed as part of this bylaw was simply overlaying our industrial district. This is what a lot of towns are doing. This is where most towns are allowing these types of facilities. What the board had asked is, the first draft of the bylaw proposed a 1,000-foot setback from residential zoning districts. This little black hatching made with a Sharpie here, down here, this little 1,000-foot setback from this residential district would exclude this little square down here. And if we did a 1,000-foot setback from the residential district to the east of the business district on 138, it would basically exclude the frontage of most of these properties.
It's 250 feet
Yeah,
wide,
so,
so you'd end up coming
Right.
500 feet, and you
So,
don't do that.
Dan came into the office the other day and I showed him this, and yesterday, I believe, and I think we can agree that the Attorney General would probably look at this and say, we see what you're trying to do here and we don't like it.
Yeah, I think the fact that we have 138 cutting through time.
Now, that's the only industrial
Chris,
district?
Chris.
Yes, there's light industrial down here, but
So-
this would be only the
Yeah,
straight industrial
and that's
district.
not sufficient, but the fact you have 138 between your residential and your industrial, I think makes a big difference.
It's a natural buffer.
It's a natural buffer.
Yeah.
You can have I don't even think you need a setback on that.
Well,
side.
so what we decided to do, what Dan and I discussed, and I gave a revised draft of the bylaw in your packets tonight in a memo dated September 18th. The state has a default, the DPH regulations have a setback of 500 feet from churches and schools. So what I revised this to is I eliminated the setback from the residential zoning district because of this. So kept the 1,000-foot setback from churches and schools.
1,000 instead of?
1,000, yes. Because
Because there are no
the only
churches,
church,
schools.
the only church in this area is down near the end of Wilbur Street,
Okay, that's fine.
right here.
Isn't
And
there
when I-
some little church on Robinson? Is it on Robinson?
Yeah, there's no church there.
But there was a little church on Robinson. Yeah.
Yeah, which is probably where you're thinking.
Yeah.
Wilbur, Robinson,
Yeah,
it's in that
so-
area.
So basically, the 1,000-foot setback would cut a little bit into a few properties just south of the dog track, but not
Just
much
a-
at all.
just a
Just a
point.
little bit, maybe by 100 feet
Isn't
tops.
1,000 feet an awful big, is that gonna go by the AG's office?
What if
It
they
will.
won't even smoke
Yeah.
a pot?
Because
Well,
other towns have proposed 1,000-foot setbacks
Yeah.
from churches and schools.
Now, how about any little schools up there, like preschools and stuff? Is that in your definition of schools?
I couldn't find a definition of schools anywhere in the state building code. We don't have a definition in our zoning bylaws.
There may be schools in that residential area you don't know about, which may eliminate your entire use there.
There's a school inside the church.
Right.
Yeah, there's a church, there's a school inside this church
I
right
think
here.
you're better off at 500 feet.
Okay, do you want to, because what you see in your draft is 1,000-foot setback from churches and schools and 500 feet from other things such as playgrounds, parks, and things like that. So what you're proposing is just a straight 500 foot to
Yeah.
be consistent with the state.
My only concern with that is if somebody comes in and argues in court that we're restricting land use to a very limited spot in the outskirts of town,
Which we are.
which we are, and that gets overturned in court, and then they come in, we're not gonna all of a sudden be able to change our 500 to 1,000 feet at that time. If we put 1,000 feet from churches and schools, at this point, it affects nothing. It
Well,
affects,
you don't know that, because you don't know
Well-
if there's any little preschools in the registration, in that business, in the purple residential area, that may eliminate the whole thing with 1,000 feet as it is.
You could actually have someone go through all the motions and not know that someone has a school in
Right,
their
I
house.
mean, do you know I have a school at my house?
We know, you block all the traffic.
well,
So there may be some preschools there that you don't know are there, that may create an issue for you. So or may open up later on, which they have a right to do at any point, because schools can go anywhere in residential area under our zoning bylaws. So I think, and if you keep that 1,000 feet and two little schools open up, you just eliminate the entire area, basically. So I
which if
just,
they have other places in town to go, then
they don't.
so be it.
But where else, if you're restricting them to this one piece of property, or one zoning, of industrial, or whatever it is, and there's no place else in town, it's gonna be overruled for sure. So keep it at 500, it's consistent with the state law.
Russ, opinion?
I lean towards sticking with what the state says.
Stick to the 500?
And now that's no longer a setback from residential, right?
No, just from churches, schools, parks, playgrounds, any rehab,
so-
any other rehab centers that may be in the area, and other medical facilities. So you have to have a 500-foot setback from other potential medicinal
So if you
marijuana
drop that
facilities.
down to 500, then the whole thing's 500.
Okay,
And they can't do open in residential areas anyways, because they're prohibited.
okay. So
So
it sounds like the board be consistent with the state, 500 across the board.
stick it to 500.
Okay. Now,
Right.
that's one issue that we got a consensus on. The other issue we discussed was, at the end of the first draft bylaw, I had mentioned that there were certain things from the DPH regulations that I brought over to our zoning bylaw, such as things dealing with video surveillance and signage and things. And what Dan mentioned at that time was he thought it was a slippery slope to start picking and choosing individual things from the DPH regulations when item 3 of the draft bylaw states that any of these facilities need to be constructed to be consistent with the entire DPH regulations anyway. So Dan's feeling was if it's already in the DPH regulations, then you don't really need to bring individual things over. You might create unintentional loopholes.
I agree with Dan.
You know, 'cause it's already there, so if we just
Okay.
mirror the states, I think we're covered.
Okay, so 500 feet across the board and eliminate those things, which I did in this new draft. We're pretty much gonna, the public hearing date is going to have to be for the meeting on the 17th of October. Town meeting commences on the 29th. So I'd ask the board to, I can make the amendments for the next meeting, and we can toss this around in the meantime, but I would ask the
Don't we
board
have to
for a
publish?
motion to
This
hold the
time.
public hearing.
Yeah.
Yes, so-
Public hearing.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
All in favor for
For this-
holding
for
a
this-
public hearing? Aye?
Aye.
Okay, so 10/17.
All right.
And I'll get a revised draft out, probably early next week.
Yeah, that's fine. Signed bylaw amendment?
Yeah, in your packets, this is something that the town administrator provided today. He and I had gone, we had tweaked the language a little bit. Basically, what this would do, this would make, if a school had to put up a sign,
Jason's doing good. He's in Wellesley working for Staples. I talked to Danielle the other day.
Yep, go ahead.
if the school had to put up a sign for an event such as a play, a bazaar, whatever they want to do, it would basically make them exempt from having to get a sign permit, building permit for it, but it would also limit the amount of time it could be up. It would and it would also not exceed 6 square feet, and it can't be erected more than 45 days before the event, nor be left up more than 5 days after the event.
And at the last town meeting, we did have a signed, we did change our sign bylaw, so basically this is, I think, correcting something that was
I thought it was well written,
kind of an overview, so,
so I like it.
yeah.
Okay. So, again,
All in favor to have, schedule a public hearing? Aye?
okay,
And then on the back is your
is the rooster bylaw.
So is someone gonna explain to you why we're doing this?
That, I guess, that was put on at the request of the building commissioner. So I don't know. This is the first I've seen it.
So someone somewhere is raising roosters, peacocks, and guinea hens.
Now, according to Randy,
Is it guinea hen?
I asked what the deal with peacocks was, and he said, oh, they can be very loud. So,
Okay.
Are we really gonna get into
Agreements
this?
used to happen, remember?
Are we gonna get into, come on.
We're gonna exclude people being able to have these? Is that what it
Oh, my
says?
gosh.
So
In residential neighborhoods?
presently you can file includes the roosters, peacocks, and guinea hens? And now we're taking it out so they can't raise them? Is that what this is doing?
Listen, the roosters,
You know what
the
this is
rooster
from,
is
might
in my
be from?
neighborhood, and I hear the rooster, all the time.
At what time?
Oh, he doesn't just roost in the morning, he roosts in the afternoon. And it
a nuisance.
doesn't bother me, but one of the neighbors that directly abuts this person asked them to get rid of the rooster, and they did.
Is this,
So it's, you know, I think,
this was through the selectmen?
I don't know.
Yeah, I think it
This may
was.
be-
yeah, I think
Because
Dennis asked the selectmen to put this on.
my neighbor had, Eddie Brennan had like 4 or 5 chickens and a rooster.
I threw
And my
those in his
dog-
backyard.
Yeah, my dog ate all the chickens, and the rooster got run over by a car. So he stopped raising them.
Is that germane to our discussion
No,
here?
but I'm wondering if this is Tad Loggy had come in and he wants to raise chickens.
No,
Area. Actually, I think that's Farm and Forest we use.
All right, so this is taking out raising of roosters,
Correct.
peacocks, and guinea hens.
Now, legally, if once
And
Once
this
a
board
zoning
selectmen-
bylaw, once a zoning bylaw is referred by the Board of Selectmen to the planning board, legally, the planning board has to hold a public hearing on it.
Well,
Yeah, well,
I'll move that we hold a public hearing.
let's hold the public hearing, and then we'll,
And then it'll be up to you gentlemen whether or not to recommend favorable action or
Yeah.
unfavorable action on
We
it.
should start telling them what to do inside their house as well.
okay, so all those interested in raising roosters, you better show up at the,
Don't forget the guinea hens.
Okay, the guinea hens, right.
at our next
Peacocks.
That's going to be held at October 17th?
All three of those,
All of
October
them.
17th.
Okay, the last, one of the other things we have on our agenda is discussion on fees.
Yes.
And without Burke being here, I really don't feel comfortable that we really should go down that road. I think it's a
I
full board.
agree with you. It should be a full board. Although I must say, John did an excellent job putting the comparisons together. They were very helpful.
Thank you.
It was fantastic. I wish we saw the comparisons.
Before.
First time we did them.
And-
Basically, all I did was take Serpents and I just put them into order of amount for the.
Yeah, no,
fees.
it just gives us, and again,
So, yeah, see
we're
the
not
range and
full-timers. This is
ranks.
what, we don't mind reviewing and looking, but it's nice having information in front of us to actually see something and compare to. But for all fairness, Burke's been here for over 20 years, and I just think he's,
Can I just ask something? Just to-
yeah, no, go ahead.
The way this is set up now, if a large building like when FedEx was in here, if they came in and they just wanted to put a roof over the entryway or something like that, that makes them come before, are they gonna have to pay
That was what we changed.
20, well,
John
even
can
for something,
John
well,
can
I see
explain
some
that.
things that say affecting the building, you're paying per the building size, but I'm like, we don't want people
No.
putting up
And
30
I
grand
found
for
something today.
$1,000.
And I think that in that second memo, I want to separate the rest of the fees from that discussion on the abbreviated site plan. What this memo tried to do was try and alter that a little bit, but after discussion with Dan yesterday, the information you had takes that a step further. Yeah, that was the purpose of looking at this, is not
Right.
to be too punitive. If someone wants to come in and just change their parking area,
Right.
why should they be made to have an application fee that's related to the square footage of the building when
Right.
they're not changing it?
And to make that short and sweet, if we determine it's a minor modification, it's a flat $250 fee.
Well, that's what this tried to do, is take away that 25 cents per
So,
square foot.
He would come in, so FedEx would come in front of us, or an applicant would come in front of us. We determine it's a minor modification. He falls under that category. He goes back to Maureen, pays the $250, files his plans, and he's
And
done.
that's it. But the information that I gathered today shows that how a few different towns, not a lot of towns do this. It took me a lot of searching to find a few towns that actually break it up between major and minor and abbreviated or whatever. But, there are towns that even go a little bit lower than that. So we may decide, hey, you know what, 250, maybe that's even a little bit high. So,
Yeah, I don't think so.
okay.
Because,
Sometimes we
and
spend
again,
a lot of time on
you
these
have to,
things.
you have to look at where we are. Being Raynham, we have two major, Route 44, 138, 24. We have a lot of industrial, we got business and residential, so I think it fits for us having a minor, having that in there, and I think the 250 is perfect.
Okay.
The only one big thing is that $10,000, that has to
Yeah, that
change.
was right.
It's just don't punish somebody if they're not changing the building.
Exactly.
Right.
Right.
So we'll explain that to Burke when he comes back, and we wish him well. Anything else, John?
No, I think that's about it. The only other thing I'd like to mention to the board is that, at the request of the town administrator, I've been working with himself and the fire chief on a CIC Community Innovation Challenge grant, and it's due November 22nd. I have most of the narrative of the grant application done. I just sit with the fire chief on the budget. What they want to do is they want to take the dispatching for police, fire, and EMS and consolidate it into one call center. Right now, it's a little bit disjointed, so we're gonna see if we can get some grant money from the state to start that up, at least pay for some training, software, and equipment to get that going. The max is $500,000, like I said. I don't know if we'll come close to that, but the feeling is, hey, if we can get something, it gets us started, and it's better than what we have now. So,
Okay, thank you very much.
All right, all we have is
Very good.
invoices, which we have only one.
There's two there, actually. Well, there's two staples for that. Those account the funds,
Then we can sign.
well, yeah.
We can,
put them in.
we can
We have
sign them,
some
and she's
funds.
gonna hold them before you pay them.
Yeah,
We must sign.
Not yet.
Actually, the three of us can sign.
I just want to know whether you're leaving those accounts.
Yeah, I should have asked them.
We'll ask them tomorrow.
Well, I think, I think Campbell Court is, the situation that they have over there is, he's going at his own pace. I don't think we gotta ask for a lot of money. We know who it is, they're not going anywhere. Let's just, maybe have $1,500. Well, you can, and I think it's $1,500 over what the bills are. I'm satisfied with. Campbell Court for having funds coming in for review in the future. I recommended that we ask for $1,500 more than his current bills are.
Georgia Estates?
No. Oh,
Oh, no,
well,
George said we don't know.
well, Georgia Estate's the same thing. He has a large amount of cash bond he's putting up.
Yeah.
Uh,
Oh, you're talking separate.
They're both, George Estates and
Is this for engineering and stuff?
Yes.
for review fee.
Oh,
Where George Estates is almost to the
There's nothing
end.
to review.
yeah, I think 1,500.
And for Campbell Court, same thing, it's almost to the end. He's, both of them are very clean and there's no,
Yeah, I mean, both those look
we don't have
nice.
issues. If we had issues with the developers, then that'd be a different story. All in favor for asking for $1,500 from both those? Aye.
Aye.
You abstain.
We sign those. I'm gonna table the minutes until Bert comes back. And that's all, Maureen, you have anything you'd like to add?
I do not.
Henry, anything?
No.
Chris?
No.
All set, John? Yep. Russ? Okay, well, we're already into September, and next time we will see you, oh my goodness, it will be October 3rd. Scary, meeting adjourned. Thank you.